Okay, and we're live. Just a second, let me pin a message. Okay, here we go. Okay, already some people with us. Okay, we're just gonna sit around and wait for some people to join. I think 2 minutes, something like that. We just started. So for those of you who already joined, so we have 3 people from what I see. My name is Artur. I am from Latvia, Riga, living here. So absolutely excited to show you around the city today. And the weather is beautiful, sunny, 31 degrees. I think we're gonna have a nice walk. Before people join, I'll just quickly run down and say what we're gonna see. I thought about doing a small tour around the old town because, I mean, Riga has a lot of things to do. There's a lot of artisty neighborhoods, a lot of trendy, a lot of bars, a lot of everything. But I think the old town is really the place where you go whenever you come over to Riga. I think it's definitely the most beautiful part of the city. I mean, even locals themselves will often go. It's not like a touristical spot where only people like only tourists go. No, locals do love going to the city center. There's a lot of things to do there, a lot of things to watch. Yeah, so I see little by little some people are joining. Do write in the comments if you can hear me well. Maybe anyone. I will write in the comments as well to see if you guys hear me. Okay. Let's see if we can get some feedback from me. Yeah, is it good? Like it's not too loud, not too bad. Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, nice. Okay, some more people. I think let's give it like 2-3 minutes and we can start. I think so. Just so we can have like a proper introduction, because once I get started, like I think it's really important to have that starting moment as we start in the city center, because I'm going to tell a little bit about the history of the place. So. And then when we will be walking around the old town, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. It's not going to be like a presentation. So for now, until we're waiting for some more people, I'll just gonna show you around the place, not only my face. So you're here to see the city and not the guide. Okay, let me show you around a little from the place where I'm sitting. So it's exactly the city center. Behind the tree, it's the Freedom Monument, and as you can see, it's a lovely summer day. Just park all around me. Oh, over there. Okay, I'll start heading out slowly and showing you a little. This is actually, this park and this particular place is a favorite among the people who are getting married. Alvar, hello. You see over there on the bridge, they put the locks. So it's a tradition for the people who are getting married to put a lock on the bridge. In that sense, they kind of lock their relationships in a way or something. Okay, I think we already have some people watching. So I'm just going to introduce myself for one last time. My name is Artur. I'm from Riga, Latvia. You're having a walk with me around Riga, again, Latvia, not Lithuania. A lot of people confuse it, and there is no bigger way to insult a Latvian than to say that you're from Lithuania. Trust me on that one. We can tolerate everything else, but not this. Latin Lithuania sounds similar, but there's a difference. All right. So this is the Freedom Monument, and it's pretty important for us because as a country, Latvia exists only for 100 years. We're a pretty young country, and it means that historically there's been a lot of conquest around the place. So there's been a lot of influence and dominance of other countries like Germany, Sweden, Russia. So countries were kind of like coming and going. And the Freedom Monument is pretty important for us. It's a huge pride because finally we regained our independence from all of those other countries, but they did leave a remarkable influence. Like you can see it walking around the city, because you would see some part of the city would be built in Swedish times, some part of the city would be built in German times, and some part would be built in Russian times, and you can see it. You can see those differences in architecture. So, and it's basically the city itself is like an onion. You know, it's covered like with layers. So this is the beginning of the old town. Everything going over there is a new part of the city, more of a Soviet bloc buildings. It's not all that interesting. I mean, nothing much to see. So this is basically, oh, I'm sorry, my cord from the earphones. Yeah, you can see basically people enjoying summer days. Everybody's in the park and going for that evening beer or a restaurant. And I gotta say, you guys have to love watching online tours if you're with me on Friday at 7, because pretty few of you, but you're pretty dedicated, huh? Because some other people would have enjoyed just, you know, having like a nice cold beer or a drink, which I'm definitely gonna do after I'm done with you guys, because it's just, the weather is way too good. So this is basically the entrance to the old town, and we gotta stop over here because there's a lot of traffic. And the first fun fact about Riga is the thing you see on the floor, this zebra, this crossing. It is the widest crossing in the world. I mean, I don't know if you can come up with more fun fact than that. And if you want to surprise your date with amazing knowledge of useless fact, this might be it. Nobody knows, literally. Like, you can fact check me. You can go to Google and type down the widest zebra crossing in the world, and that's gonna be the thing that I showed you right now. Okay, so yeah, that McDonald's is basically, this McDonald's is where every single party ends. Like, if you live in Riga, that McDonald's it's like, it holds a special place in your heart, because that's where every single party ends. Okay, so back to the history. So the first place I'm gonna take you is the old border of the town. It was basically where the town had a border, where it finished. So you can see already pretty nice medieval streets. Love it. The tower that you see in front of me, it's a powder tower. So now it's a war museum. It has basically like a war history, all of the ammunition. Also, as I said, there's been a lot of conquest around this place. So a lot of wars, a lot of trying to conquer. It's like one of the best things. What I love about Riga is these narrow streets. You can basically kind of like walk around the city and you will get lost. It's like sometimes you rediscover. Even me living in the city for so long, even me sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, what is the street? Like it has some nice place, you know, and then you go check it out. Okay, so the first place I'm going to show you is called the Swedish Gate, and surprise, surprise, it's been built by the Swedish people, and hence the name Swedish Gate, because they were the ones who were basically one of the first here. The city itself was first established by Germans, but then those were Swedes, and then those were Russians. And basically, today we're gonna see what I think it's my subjective opinion. The nicest parts of the city. Here we go. Official language of the country, it's a Latvian language. Latvian. So Latvian language. The thing is, everybody's like, okay, it's Latvian, but like which group of languages does it belong to, or what does it sound like? And I would say that it's absolutely unique. Like there's no other language, maybe Lithuanian, but because we have like a same family of languages, it's a Baltic group of languages, and that's it. Some people are trying to say that it belongs to the Slavic. Okay, I'm sorry. There's a little bit of sun, so I'll try to walk backwards. So the building that you see over here is an old barracks. It's where the soldiers would be stationed with everything. Okay. So I don't know if you can see. It's pretty sunny, but here it is. That's basically where the front line of the city was. You see, like old cannons. Pretty nice. So it basically was the defensive wall that they built right over here, all along. I don't know if the quality of the video is nice. Can you write it down? Okay. So just have another look. And yeah. What is traditional food except McDonald's? It's basically like, I would say traditional food is always the thing that grows nearby, right? So it's kind of things that you can get from the local farms and everything like that. We don't have any famous dishes per se. It's not like in Italy, pasta or stuff like that. But normally it's potatoes with pork, right? Because you can grow potatoes in a harsh climate. And it's quite sunny today, but don't think that it's a normal thing. It's not always that, you see? So the dates on the buildings. Here we go. Pretty good. Yeah, so I would say the most typical dishes would be anything to do with potatoes and pork meat. Okay, so this is the place called the Swedish Gates, right over here. Another, you see, and some cannons used as the decoration over here. Okay, let's go. Let's go inside. So it has a pretty medieval feeling about the place. Pretty cool. Okay, just look at this. It's quite beautiful. Love it. I mean, every single time that I walk around the streets, I love it myself. Really. Like, I do enjoy. We just sometimes go for a walk and stuff like that. Okay, so back to the weather in Latvia. As you see, we are in the north. We're part of the northern Europe, and it means that the climate here is pretty bad. Like, normally it's quite cold. We do have 4 seasons, so it's spring, winter. Winter is cold, summer is warm, but it's you see. So these the houses like this are basically the old storage houses. You see, they would connect ropes here. It would go down, and this would be like first level, second level, third level. It would be used as the storage house. But some of these are now like renovated, and those are made into offices, stuff like that. So, yeah. So in the summertime, it's the fact that today is 30 degrees is more of an anomaly than a fact, because usually it's pretty cold. And there is a common joke among Latvians that a guy is going back to work from a vacation or something, and he's talking to another guy, and he's like, "Hey, you're so pale, you're so white. Where's your suntan?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I spent my time in Latvia. We had summer, but unfortunately I was working that day. That one single day when there was summer, the guy was working." So it's kind of like a silly way of saying that we have a pretty bad weather normally. What else can I tell you about Latvia? I think the very fact that I'm doing an online walk means that people can't travel, and it's everything due to the coronavirus. I think we're all stuck in a way to one place right now. And I have to say that the coronavirus in Latvia was pretty mild. Like, in all of this time, we only had 1,000 cases, and we didn't have any new cases for the past and we didn't have any new cases for the past, I don't know, like 5 days. Oh, some nice Bentley. You see the quality of life in the city. Not mine. Maybe someday. Okay, so the next stop, it's called the House of the Black Cat. Look at this. It has 2 cats at the top of the buildings. You see one over here and one over there. And the story of the place, it basically goes like this. Back in the day, back in the German times, when they occupied the territory of the country, there would be like a sort of segregation between the local population of Latvians. They were kind of like a second degree citizens, not deserving the same rights as the Germans. And Germans would have like all these fancy places where they would meet. And basically, these Latvian guys, he was like, "Hey, look, I'm pretty rich myself, so can I join you?" And they were like, "Look, it's a big boys club, and you can't really join us because you're a Latvian." And he's like, "You know what? Then I'm gonna build my own guild, this building, with the blackjack and ladies, with all the fun stuff, but without you guys." And to show his dissatisfaction with the fact that they didn't let him in, they did not let him in. He placed these cats, which show their butts towards their building. It was his way of saying, yeah, you know what, screw you guys. Okay, and then we see that a lot of city. Oh, by the way, yeah, it's Art Nouveau. It's Jugendstil, so called. And Riga is the city with the most buildings of Jugendstil. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. So the idea of the style of these buildings is that they have always, you see, something portraited. It's the facade. It's not only empty facade, but it would always have like these beautiful figures to beautify it. And so Riga has the most of these kind of buildings. So there's this actual one separate neighborhood of only those buildings. It has like it is the most expensive part. Okay, so this is our parliament. Nothing impressive. It's just a huge building. So this is the big guild. This is what I'm talking about when those German merchants, they would come over and they would build these places for them to meet and to discuss all the issues, you know, like trade issues, politics, all stuff like that. And they have 2 places. So this one is called the Big Guild, right over here. Some nice summer terraces, people enjoying their time. And this over here, it's called the Small Guild. Okay, we don't want to have any. We don't want to have people in the camera. We want to have some nice buildings. Okay, so every summer around here is a party all the time. Terraces. Right there in front of us is a theater of Russian classics. So it just shows how much Riga has a very diverse culture, because there are a lot of people with mixed heritage. Russians, Germans, Latvians, Lithuanians, Polish. You can find everybody over here. So this looks a little bit like from the fairy tales, huh? Looks pretty nice. This is Small Guild. So they're basically one. So this is a big one, and the mini version of it. I think the small one is nicer. It looks more beautiful. It basically nowadays it serves all the same purposes that it did back in the day. So now they have concerts, philanthropy, events, all of those things. I see. Looks pretty good. Okay. Now let's go to the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's the heart of the city. Before we get there, I think one thing that you should know when walking around Riga is that you should never walk like this. You should never walk and look down, because there are so many beautiful things if you look up. Like all of this. It has, you can see, like, if you look close enough, there's a small bears over there. And it just has so many, like, small figurines. You see? Let's walk up closer and you will see what I'm talking about exactly in a second. Yeah, you see stuff like this. That's what I'm talking about. Like sometimes in completely unexpected places you would find something like, look, some nice good looking frogs. Pretty cool, huh? And okay, here's a shop called Amberline. It's amber is basically the most common jewelry that you would find in Latvia. I don't know. You can have a look. Nothing really special about it, but and with hills, yeah. Okay. Here, look. This is the old Freemasonry house. You can see the signs of Freemasonry over here. And at the top of the building, right over here, sorry, my fat finger. Yeah, it's a white wolf over there. And this is exactly what I mean, that you have to always walk around the city like with your head up, and you would notice some of the things like, wow, that looks pretty neat. All right, so we're in the city center, and at the square. I am sorry that the sun is shining right in the camera. I will try to like walk a little bit sideways so it doesn't shine that much in the camera. I don't know if you can hear the music. So, yeah, as you can see, some nice summer terraces over there as well. You can get some nice beers. And yeah, I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just keep walking like a little bit sideways, so there wouldn't be a direct sunlight in the camera. And once I get to the spot, like I will show you everything. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's what's called the Dome Square. It's the very heart of the city. Probably it's better to show it like from the other side, and I will try to get there in a second. Here we go. This building over here, probably you don't see it pretty well, but it's an old stock exchange, and now it's a museum. Okay. So now we're getting to the. Okay. Yeah, an old church, terraces, and I will show you that I was not trying to fool you, that it is indeed a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here it is. You see, historic center of Riga in this place. It's basically where everything started for the city. You see? It's basically the place where German settlers came, and they started out the city from this place. It's because it's not too far from the riverbank if you go that side, and it's basically the place where all the trade was happening. And I mean, this place was settled because of the trade routes. They were going like Scandinavia, Germany, and all along those places. Okay, let's get inside a little bit of shadow. Okay. So these buildings are Jugendstil as well. Absolutely beautiful. Let's walk up and I'll show you one of my favorite corners, I would say. See. Okay guys, little by little I see more people joining, so please don't be shy. Ask questions. It's definitely easier for me to tell stories, because every city is a story. And it's not only buildings, it's history of the place. Yeah, this corner right here. Amazing. Yeah. And a little bit of it here. I don't know, I think if people who can draw can probably get a lot of inspiration from just walking around the streets. Look at it. Okay, so this is like a 19th century architecture. Okay, so all of like these buildings were built in German times. So that's what I'm kind of telling is that from the buildings themselves you can see, okay, this one is Swedish. Okay, this one is Russian, and this one is, say, German. Yeah, the old stock exchange has been. Living in Latvia is that, well, living in Riga in general, is that from Riga you can get to the seaside like 30 minutes. It's really both ways. You can go because we have a Baltic Gulf, and you can go to the seaside like either way. It's 30 minutes. You can always, and you can choose because there's some kind of seaside that you can go and it will have more of a like place with restaurants, or if you're more into, if you're outdoorsy, if you like nature, then there's also that kind of sea. So people in Latvia generally, how old is the city? I think it's 800 something. We just recently, okay, see some nice cafes inside and the church. There are a lot of like these kind of hidden places within the city. So now I'm going to show you the building, the medieval architecture, which is different. Basically, these streets are medieval, but this one over here, 3 buildings. There's nothing particularly exciting about them. Look at this. This one and this one, but they're called 3 brothers because there's a legend about them that basically a generation of brothers was building these buildings, kind of like it goes like in the fairy tales, you know, like the small one, the middle one, and the old one. And you see 1646, pretty old one. So these are medieval. I would say that this is the oldest brother. I don't know. It looks oldest to me. This is probably the middle one and the small one. This is just the tiniest one. And this, actually, this kind of architecture is also, it's more of a Dutch, Netherlands type of architecture. Yeah, so. Not that many people. No, actually, there's a lot of people, I would say, right now, but they all go to some small pubs. And actually, whenever the weather is nice, in fact, if the weather is really good, everybody goes to the seaside. Everybody goes to the seaside, enjoys some time over there, and then they come back to the city center for dinner, drinks, you know. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, if you are from a big city, then Latvia for you would feel really small place, and it is. There's in the whole country there's roughly 2 million people, a little bit less, and in Riga 1 million, probably a little bit less. So there are not that many people, and some would say it's bad, but I would say, you know, Latvians, we really enjoy our privacy. We love being, you know, like quiet, having our space. You see in the city center, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people having some drinks over there. Yeah, so I would say Latvians definitely love their privacy, and we're kind of used to that. There's not too many of us. And, you know, okay, I'll go sidewalks again because of the sun. And I would say Latvians would always, because of the history of Latvia, with a lot of occupation, a lot of influence from other countries, you know, we kind of like, we love to be left alone. You know, just don't touch us. We're over here. We just want to have our privacy and so on. And so the part of the Latvian mentality, it's very quiet, hardworking, you know, down to earth. Latvian people are very outdoorsy. We love to go to the nature, a lot of hiking, a lot of stuff like that, because 70% of the country is covered in forests. So, okay. we're getting close to the next place. 70% of the country is covered in forest, basically. So once you're out of the city, it's endless nature. So we love it. And okay, that's a Catholic church and a presidential palace over there. And somebody trying to park and just me getting in the way. Yeah, so basically there's this joke about Latvians and the coronavirus. Oh, look. You see? Look at these guys. What are you guys doing here? So there's this joke about Latvians and the coronavirus because we don't have many cases. And we still had the lockdown. And the lockdown was the fact that we had to maintain 2-meter distance. And now, with the beginning of the summer, they lifted the lockdown. And favorite joke among Latvians was like, thanks God the lockdown is lifted, we can get back to being 5 meters apart instead of being 2 meters apart. Yeah, you heard the joke? Yeah. They say something similar about the Scandinavians, but I think the more you go to the North Europe, the more it is like this. Okay, so getting back to the idea of there being a lot of different cultural influence here in Riga and Latvia. This one over here is a church, obviously, but it's not just any church, it's an Anglican church. It's a Church of England. But you would ask me, okay, why does that matter? I mean, it is interesting. Saint Saviour Church. Oh, welcome, you see. Written in English, Anglican Church. But it is interesting. Oh, you see, look at that. I would love living over there. That balcony with some small coffee any day. You don't have to ask me twice. Okay, so back to the Anglican Church. Why is that interesting? It is interesting because the Church of England, it basically says, look, to be a proper Church of England, you have to be built in England. You have to be built in the UK to be called an English church. And people who were traveling from one place to another, and especially some wealthy merchants and so on, they wanted to attend to their church. And they were like, okay, we got a problem. We want to go to the Anglican church, but in Riga, they have only those Catholic and Orthodox churches. Okay, now look, I'm walking down the stairs. So basically the solution for them was, look, do you see that it's like a level above the normal other buildings? That building is over there, but this one is a level above. And so basically what they did, said, look, okay, we got to build an Anglican church and it needs an Anglican soil. So we're just going to basically bring it with ships from England to Latvia and build Anglican church upon that land. And all of this is part of the English land that they brought by ships and built this church. It's still active. I don't know if we have many Anglicans in Latvia. I never met anyone, but I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not here. Okay, this is the riverside of the city. Pretty cool place to hang out. You just, a lot of young people go over there just to enjoy days like this, the summer days. A lot of old buildings in the city are being renovated. Some of it is not. You see, for example, like here, this one's pretty old. But you would think, what is the problem with those buildings? And I will explain to you, because it's because of the history, because of the communist times. They basically took away the property from the people and they nationalized it. And then when the Soviet Union collapsed, there was this process called denationalization, is when they basically gave back people what they took from them. But you have to understand this. There are a lot of people who migrated to like Canada, US, and all those places. And basically when, I don't know, you're second or third generation in US and somebody writes you a letter, says, hey, look, you have all of this building. You have all of this building in Riga that belongs to you. Well, it did belong to your, grandparents. Now it's yours. So it sounds pretty exciting, huh? But on the other side, look, it's in a pretty bad shape. Not exactly this one, but some of those are. Nice restaurant. These are old warehouses. Okay, so and you have some of these buildings that are in a really poor shape, and they're huge. They're absolutely massive, and there's a state tax. Like you have to pay property tax, and if you say, look, this is, I admit this is my building. What they're gonna do is they immediately gonna make you pay taxes. So it's kind of like double-edged. It's basically like a double-edged sword, right? Like imagine getting all of this as a property, but then you have to pay taxes. And it has to be renovated. And if you want to renovate it as a historical building, so it has to be renovated like with a proper technology, according to that day, which is pretty difficult. Look, the difference. Look, this is Old Town, and there you go, like Soviet style buildings. Immediately, like you see the difference? Yeah. Okay, the bicycles. Yeah, we do have police on bicycles. We have police on horses as well, but usually they use cars. But bicycles are getting a lot really popular. Like maybe there's not a lot of infrastructure, but every single year they're adding something up. They say they renovate some roads. They always try to include. There's always this nice city planning. There we go. There's always this nice city planning where they try to include, all these trendy European things. And I would say Riga is like, it's definitely kind of like 50-50 in the sense that there's this very European feeling to it. But then there is also like this old post-Soviet things as well. So it's kind of a little bit of both. We're not exactly like a post-Soviet country anymore, but not exactly like a super developed like Sweden. As I said, we're a little bit in between. So everything to do with the bicycles is kind of in the same way. Like we kind of have it, but we could do better. So I would say like this. The metro, no, we don't have subway, but in the Soviet times, they were actually thinking about building one, like a subway in Riga, because they basically decide to build a subway if there's like more than 2 million people in the city, which it was. But then the problem is that we're really close to the seaside, and the soil, the land itself is very, it's too soft. Like you would have to dig way too deep. And basically by the time when they were deciding, look, are we going to do it or are we not going to do it? It basically was a collapse of the Soviet Union. And there was an idea, but just because of the Soviet Union collapse, they just basically gave it up. No subway, no. Which are other transportation ways? Yeah, basically all the rest, cars, buses, trams. Trams, I use trams most of the time. Really convenient. You don't have to stand in the, what was the name of it? In the traffic jam. Trams are perfect. It's amazing. Okay, I don't know if anyone recognizes Probably not. I don't know. Probably your parents saw it. But there was a back in the day. There were like these movies about Sherlock Holmes, right? And some of them, some parts of the movie of the old one, the old one, it basically was filmed over here on these streets. You see over here, because I think it was a movie back like 60s or 70s, but they basically thought that this place in particular reminds of old England. Here's a center of culture and arts, of Latvian culture and arts. Mostly like Latvian, anything to do Latvian. It was basically old pagan traditions. Like recently we celebrated summer solstice, basically the longest day of the year and the shortest night. So it always has this kind of like, as I said, connection, a lot of connection to the nature, stuff like that. When Latvia opens the borders, we're open with other Baltic countries, with Estonia, Lithuania, I think some other European countries. I'm not sure about it, but I think, Germany, definitely, Netherlands, I've heard, and I think Spain is opening up. España. Okay, so, this is, I would say this is one of the most recognized buildings in the old town, and it's called the House of the Black Heads. Don't be surprised. I know it sounds interesting, but so this building it was an old guild, right? So like the previous ones that we saw, so it's kind of it had the same idea for meetings, for gatherings, but this one obviously is more sophisticated. And it is because this one belonged to those merchants that were involved in a trade of exotic goods, like tobacco, like all of those more exotic things that you couldn't find around here. You see, so that's why it's more sophisticated. It's really nice, and you see like all of the figures over here. And it has its name, House of the Black Heads, because of this guy over here. This guy over here. And it didn't have any specific racial connotation because we didn't have black people here in Latvia. But as these merchants, all of them, back in the day, they used to have a patron saint. And this one over here is Saint Mauritius. And he was a patron saint of tradesmen, of travelers. He would protect them during their traveling. And they chose him as the patron. It's a black person in the knight's armor. And that's why it's basically called the House of the Black Heads. You see, Saint Mary with the child. Here, yeah, it's sorry for pausing. Okay, and now we're going to the last part. What are the statues over there? Basically, figures of noblemen. That's how they looked. You see, noblemen. They basically put the statues of themselves, and a lot of those statues represent some mythological ideas, like fighting the dragons and stuff like that. A lot of biblical ideas, stuff like that. Okay, so now we are on to the last part of the tour, and I think this is one of the most impressive buildings in the old town. You can see it basically from all over the place. It's the St. Peter's Church. It's a Protestant Reformation church. It's I think it's definitely one of the most recognizable parts of the city. It's been I think it's been bombed and burned and destroyed like 4 or 5 times, this tower, but it's been every single time it's been renovated, you see. And from here, from down, you can go up the tower with elevator, and I think it has the most beautiful sight in whole Riga. You can see all of the old town. Best pictures are taken from there. And actually, it's also used to be the tallest building in Europe for some time, definitely. Not anymore, unfortunately, but it used to be. And I think that would be it. A short tour. Hope you guys liked it. I enjoyed telling people about my favorite city. I really love it, always will. And I will leave you over here. I'm not gonna go all the way up over there because you might have something left, a reason to actually come over here and see all of it yourself. Thank you guys for being with me. It was an absolute blast. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions or anything, I think you can write Localie. And if you need any tips about Riga and Latvia, I'll gladly tell you everything you need to know. Cheers, guys. Was a pleasure. You're gonna see me. Yeah, all good. Bye-bye.